Hi, in these videos, which I'm placing on the subject of retirement, I talk about the psychological aspects of it, not so much the monetary side. And I think I'm able to do that simply because of the long time I have been retired. Just for your information, I started work the day after my 15th birthday, worked for 44 years, and then took voluntary redundancy at 59, and I'm now 87. So, working it out mathematically, I spent more than a third of my life so far in retirement. Now, what I want to talk about today is this. Some people find it far easier than others to walk away and start a new way of life. Some people find it very difficult, others relatively easy. I think I fell into the former category because, and let's face it, this would apply to you, it goes right back to your infancy, right through your childhood, right through your adolescence. How stable was it as far as moving around, changing homes, going from one group or environment into another? With me, it happened a lot. By the time I was 15, I'd already changed homes backwards and forwards 9 times. And you get to the stage where you can do this. You see, I was born in 1936 in the UK. When World War II came along, the kids were all evacuated away from the big cities so they wouldn't get bombed by the Luftwaffe. And of course, you'd go away for a year, then come back to London again, and go away for another year. That happened to me 3 times. Now, you might have had a very stable childhood, started school, stayed in the same area, perhaps just went from infant school to primary school to high school to college, all in the same locale. And if you have, and you've lived in the same town, the same surroundings and the same streets all of that time, the chances are when retirement comes along, it is liable to be more difficult for you, more difficult to adjust, because you are used to having people around you in the long term for a long while. And this can happen, of course, in your job. If you've been in the job for a very long while, perhaps decades, you've worked your way up, you've worked in the same area, perhaps the same factory environment, the same office environment, and then all of a sudden you retire. How easy is it to let go? If you've been there a long while, it isn't easy. As I said, with my work, I was in the Navy for 6 years, and in that time I changed from one depot to a ship, to another ship, to another ship, to a depot, to a ship, before I got out of the Navy. Each time your little family aboard was changed, and you get used to that. You don't feel as though you need to cling on. As soon as you're out of one ship, you no longer belong to it. You take on a slightly different identity and a different family in a slightly different environment. Now, when you leave your job, you're changing to a completely different environment to this degree. Your home life might remain the same for a while, but you've lost your work life. You've lost that particular routine that you might have had for years. Getting up at the same time, driving in the car over the same route, parking in the same spot maybe, having your coffee with the same people, doing the same work in the same environment for a long time. And you make a little family. Some people you don't like much, others you don't like at all, and some people you really love. And suddenly you're out of this. You're on the outside. You're ringing them up and you say, well, we'll all meet down at the coffee shop, but it's not the same. You are no longer in the group. You're an outsider. And it doesn't take you long to start feeling that. So this is the point I'm making here. It could be quite a wrench when you leave work You leave your identity of what you used to do behind. You leave your friends behind. You leave the routine behind. Be prepared for that. And one way to be prepared for that is, as I've said in other videos, start making friends and acquaintances and taking up interests which you can pursue as you are retiring over those final few years, so that when you move into retirement, it's not such a psychological jerk. Certainly there'll be the money side of it, but once that's settled, and it will be settled, you'll get used to how you're going to make your money last and so forth. That's what I'm not talking about here. It's how you will pursue your life into retirement. The search for something meaningful to do will take place eventually. I believe that if you keep pursuing it, don't give up, you will find it. And once you've found it, your happiness in retirement will begin and continue, hopefully for as long as mine is, and maybe even longer.